Okay, so you are now at the part of writing your essay where you are going to make sure that you have all the components. I see this as a rough draft to your essay because as long as you know you have the components and you fill out each one of these, when you go to write your essay, you will probably add some sentences or you might even edit it as you type it up into paragraph form. But this essay template makes it so that you ensure that you have all the components. Because remember, you guys, you are basically trying to prove a point. You're trying to prove that while someone was reading this book, they had a perception or an opinion about a character, and then that perception or opinion changed at the end of the book. So if you think about it, you guys, this takes a lot of careful planning and careful communication to be able to share that information in writing. It's such an important skill for you to slow down and methodically prove something. So remember that when you grow up, you will not be writing 5-paragraph essays, but this activity itself is really forcing you to become a better communicator, forcing you to be clear, and also forcing you to support any opinions you come up with. You can't just willy-nilly just start coming up with an opinion and expect people to follow you and listen to you. You have to methodically plan it out. And you can't just throw evidence into a paragraph and then not explain what that evidence means. You have to have analysis sentences. And you can't just start a paragraph with an evidence sentence. Your reader would be so confused. You have to have an intro topic sentence, a subclaim. So all of these things are so hugely important. And I wish I could be with you as you write them. But remember that you're going to work on this essay template, and I get to look at it and see if you're doing the kind of thinking you need to do. And if you are, then I can applaud you. And if you aren't, then I can help you become better at it. So make sure that you see this not as a hoop to jump through, but as an actual way to organize your thoughts. Okay, as always, I miss you so much because right now probably Marcy would be raising her hand asking me some random question, and Lila would be talking to Emily, and Nate would be calling himself funny names. I miss you guys so much. Okay, so my honeys, let's do this. I want to show you that the introductory paragraph has 3 components. Like I said, right now you could be writing 1 sentence, but when you go to write the essay, you might be writing 2 sentences, or maybe you want to write 2 or 3 sentences here. It's up to you. So you introduce the conversation. What that means is you don't just start writing an essay. Ugh, how annoying. You have to introduce us to what the heck we're talking about. Well, what's the conversation here, my dearest, wonderful children? The conversation is the prompt. The prompt. So the prompt is asking you to tell us how the reader's perception changed over the course of the book when they were considering different characters. So you have to tell us that what the conversation is. Introduce it. What's the issue here? Then you have to have a bridge sentence because ultimately you're going to get to your opinion. But you can't just throw your opinion at people. It's annoying. You don't just walk up to people and start going, blah, 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 here's my opinion. You got to ease people into it. So the bridge sentence does that. It introduces the title of the book and the author and introduces the topic of the prompt. So within these 2 sentences, you should be introducing the topic of the prompt, the name of the book, the name of the author, give us a little bit of background. Okay. The main claim, this is your opinion. And you might think, well, it's not really an opinion because everybody knows that Boo was scary at the beginning and he's not scary at the end. Well, yeah, but it's your opinion to pick Boo, and what analysis you have about the book is basically your opinion. It's what you pulled from the book. So you need to tell the reader who are the 2 characters who you think the reader's misperceived. And if you do this, you will be answering the prompt, which, by the way, is the most important thing you can ever do in an essay. As long as you're in school and you have teachers giving you essays, you have got to make sure you answer the prompt. And if you do the do what chart, like we did before, when you have that do what chart, you can make sure that you're doing all those parts. Okay, so you have your main claim telling us which two characters you picked. Let's say you picked Miss Dolphus Raymond and Miss DuBose. Okay, so the first paragraph is going to be about either Dolphus Raymond or Mrs. DuBose. And we call it a subclaim because it's an opinion also. It's telling us what the paragraph's going to be about, and it's introducing which character you're going to write about and how the person was first perceived and then changed. Now listen, you guys, you can't be going, I thought Dolphus Raymond was a drunk, but then I realized you can't say I in literary essays. You have to say the reader. It's just the way we do it. You have to follow the rules. Don't give me that look, Rockford. I'm kidding. Okay, evidence sentence. So you start out with your claim. Dolphus Raymond, the kids first thought he was drunk, then they realized he was actually a man who was blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then you come up with your evidence sentence. For example, when the kids are in front of the courthouse waiting to go in, they see Dolphus Raymond, comma, quote, blah, 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 blah. And then you have your citation and a period. So you give your piece of evidence. By the way, the type of evidence you pick has a lot to do with how awesome this essay is going to be. If you pick evidence that doesn't really have any opportunity for inference, it will probably be a pretty lame essay. But if this is confusing to you and you're freaking out as it is, then just pick evidence and we'll see where it goes. After evidence, you have to explain why you have it there. You don't just throw evidence out. You have to infer what's happening in the evidence with your analysis sentences. Go back to the action words in the prompt. What's the prompt asking you to accomplish? And then attack each part of the prompt in your analysis section. So tell us what's happening in the piece of evidence you gave us, and then explain how that was the perception that the kids had at or the perception that the reader has at the beginning of the book. The next evidence sentence should probably be a piece of evidence of when they see that, oh, Dolphus Raymond is not a drunk. He's actually blah, 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 blah. And so you come up with a piece of evidence that shows that he wasn't just a crazy drunk, that he had a reason for doing it. And then you need to tell us what's happening. So that elaborates on, why the perception was changed and how the perception was changed in 2 sentences with analysis. And then you just wrap up that paragraph. Concluding sentence, you just restate the subclaim. The kids first thought Dolphus Raymond was this, then they realized he was this, and you're done. Now, if you want to have more than one of these things, which we call a chunk, more than 2 evidence sentences plus analysis sentences, you may totally do that. So if you want to have more than 3 pieces of evidence in a paragraph, you can do it. And if analysis sentences end up being 3 or 4 sentences, no worries. That's great. Just don't blah, 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 blah forever. Okay, body paragraph 2. Body paragraph 2 is about the second character. So if it's Miss DuBose, then you're going to tell us how the kids thought Miss DuBose was one way and then she changed to another way. And then you're going to give us the first sentence of when the reader thought that she was, horrible and mean and sorry, I'm yawning, I need my tea. So then you have a piece of evidence stating what the reader's initial perception was. You analyze it, you tell us what's going on there, and then you basically explain why the reader felt that way, why the reader felt that Miss DuBose was just so horrible. And then you have another evidence sentence, but this one is, woohoo, Miss DuBose was not that horrible woman. She was actually very courageous and blah, 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 blah. But you need that piece of evidence sentence to start out there. So you find that evidence that proves that. And then you explain how that evidence supports your subclaim, that she really was different and the reader is perceiving her in a different way. Wrap it up by restating your subclaim. And now you have 2 body paragraphs. You have to wrap up a 5 paragraph essay or a 4 paragraph essay has to have the conclusion. And conclusions are the most annoying to write. They really are super annoying. I love conclusions for argumentative essays. I can't stand conclusions for literary analysis essays. They're always stupid. Just do it and move on. When you write other kinds of essays, like the one we did about the cell phones, they were just so much better. The conclusions were so much better. Conclusions for literary analysis essays are boring. But anyway, let's do it. So you've got to restate the main claim. Tell us who the two characters were. Wrap it up. Tell us that the reader thought they were this way, and then the reader realized they were different. And then make some kind of broad statement that can apply this topic to the real world. This is probably not that bad because we all make misperception. We all have misperceptions of people. So you can probably make some kind of statement about that. And then so what? Like, why does this even matter? And so ultimately, you are doing literary analysis, and you maybe will think about, the hat that we wear when we read books. That when we read a book, we're not just reading it to understand what the book's about and to get the content, but to appreciate it as a piece of art. And when readers have twists, when books have twists in them, readers are more engaged. I'm sure you felt pretty surprised when Boo was the person who ended up saving the kids. I'm sure you were pretty surprised that Atticus really intended the kids to go be with Miss DuBose during the end of her life. There are surprises there, and surprises make us interested. So maybe that's what your so what statement says. I don't know, but you come up with something. Okay, I hope this helps. I miss you. If you have questions, let me know. Bye-bye.